Have you ever felt like something was off in a relationship, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it? One moment she's warm and affectionate, and the next she's distant, making you question what you did wrong. The truth is, many women play subtle psychological games, sometimes without even realizing it. These aren't about malice, but about testing, control, and protecting themselves. If you don't see the pattern, you can get stuck in confusion, chasing clarity that never comes. In this video, I'll reveal the 7 most common mind games women play, and more importantly, how to recognize them before they mess with your peace of mind. If you've ever been left second-guessing her words or actions, this video is for you. Subscribe now because understanding these hidden games is the first step to staying in control of your own emotions. The hot and cold game. One of the most common mind games women play, often without even realizing it, is the hot and cold dynamic. One moment, she's all over you, texting back instantly, showing affection, and making you feel like you're the center of her world. Then suddenly, she pulls back, goes distant, or acts indifferent. This shift leaves you wondering what you did wrong, and before you know it, you're working harder to get her attention back. This isn't always done consciously. Sometimes it's a way of testing your level of interest. Other times it's a defense mechanism to maintain control. But for you, the effect is the same: confusion, self-doubt, and emotional imbalance. The hot and cold game works because it creates a psychological chase. Your brain gets hooked on the reward of closeness after the withdrawal, making you crave it even more. If you've felt this cycle, you know how exhausting it can be. Recognizing it for what it is, a game, gives you the power to stop playing. The jealousy trigger. Another subtle but powerful mind game is when she deliberately tries to spark jealousy. Maybe she mentions other men in conversation, brings up how much attention she gets, or casually tells you about someone flirting with her. Sometimes it's more indirect, liking someone else's posts online or dropping hints about having other options. The point isn't always that she's interested in someone else. It's about testing you. She wants to see how much you care, how secure you are, and whether you'll compete for her attention. The jealousy trigger works because it makes you feel unsettled, and in that emotional space, you may try harder to prove your worth to her. It's a psychological push and pull designed to measure your reaction. The danger is that if you don't recognize it, you end up rewarding the behavior by giving her the validation she's fishing for. Understanding this tactic helps you step back and see it clearly. So instead of reacting with insecurity, you hold your ground and protect your peace. The mixed signals game. Few things are more confusing than mixed signals, and that's why they're such an effective mind game. One day, she makes you feel like you're everything she wants: affectionate texts, deep conversations, genuine warmth. Then the next day, she pulls back, becomes distant, or acts uninterested. The shift doesn't add up, and that's exactly the point. Mixed signals keep you stuck in uncertainty. Instead of stepping back and questioning her inconsistency, you start questioning yourself. Did I say something wrong? Did I misread the situation? Should I try harder? That loop of self-doubt is exactly what gives the game power. By keeping you guessing, she maintains control of the relationship dynamic because you're the one constantly trying to figure her out. The key to spotting mixed signals is recognizing the pattern, not the moment. A consistent inconsistency isn't confusion, it's manipulation. And once you see it, you stop playing the game and start protecting your energy. The silent treatment game. Silence is one of the most powerful psychological games a woman can play, and it works because it leaves you hanging in uncertainty. Instead of addressing a problem directly, she withdraws, ignoring your texts, giving one-word replies, or simply shutting down communication altogether. To you, it feels like punishment, but to her, it's control. The silent treatment forces you into overdrive. You start replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong, and often you end up apologizing just to break the tension, even if you weren't at fault. That's the hidden purpose. Silence shifts the responsibility onto you, putting you in the position of chasing her for resolution. What makes this game dangerous is that it conditions you to accept emotional withdrawal as normal, even though it's manipulation. The moment you recognize that silence is being used as a tool, not a genuine need for space, you take back the power to decide whether you'll play along or protect your peace. The comparison game. Another subtle but painful mind game is when she compares you to other men. sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. She might say, "My ex used to do this for me," or mention how some other guy at work is ambitious, stylish, or so thoughtful. On the surface, it may sound casual, but the effect is deliberate. It plants doubt in your mind. The comparison game works because it pushes you into competition. You start feeling like you're not enough, that you need to do more to measure up to some invisible standard. Instead of standing firm in your own worth, you unconsciously begin trying to prove yourself. And once you're in that mindset, she's no longer just your partner, she's the judge of your value. The truth is, no healthy relationship thrives on constant comparisons. If you feel like you're being stacked against others, it's not about your flaws, it's about control. Recognizing the comparison game allows you to step back and see it for what it is: an unfair tactic to keep you insecure and chasing approval that should never be conditional. The guilt trip game. One of the most draining mind games women play, sometimes without even realizing it, is the guilt trip. Instead of asking directly for what they want, they frame situations in a way that makes you feel selfish or uncaring if you don't give in. It might sound like, "If you really cared, you'd do this," or "I guess I just don't matter that much to you." These statements aren't about open communication. They're designed to twist your emotions and push you into compliance. The guilt trip works because it targets your conscience. You start second guessing your boundaries, your choices, and even your intentions. Suddenly, you're doing things not because you truly want to, but because you don't want to feel like the bad guy. And the more often you give in, the more power the guilt trip gains over you. The danger of this game is how invisible it can feel at first. You might confuse it with vulnerability or honesty, when in reality, it's about control. Once you spot this pattern, the key is to pause and ask yourself, am I making this choice freely or because I've been pressured into feeling guilty? That awareness alone takes back the power. The testing boundaries game. One of the most subtle but dangerous mind games is when she tests how much you'll tolerate. It starts small. Maybe she cancels plans at the last minute, makes a cutting joke at your expense, or pushes a little past a boundary you've set. If you let it slide, she pushes further next time. The game isn't about the small actions, it's about seeing whether you'll enforce your limits or bend to keep the peace. The psychology behind this is simple. The more you accept, the more control she has. If you don't speak up, the behavior becomes normalized and she learns that your boundaries aren't fixed, they're negotiable. That's where you lose ground, because instead of being a relationship of mutual respect, it turns into one where she dictates the rules. The hardest part about this game is that it doesn't feel like a single breaking point. It's a slow erosion of your standards. Recognizing it early allows you to stop the cycle by showing through your actions that your boundaries aren't open for negotiation. Respect isn't demanded with words, it's maintained with consistency. The ultimatum game. The final mind game many women play, often without even realizing it, is the ultimatum game. This happens when she frames the relationship or a specific situation as all or nothing. If you don't do this, then maybe we shouldn't be together. Or either you prove your love or I'll know you don't care. Ultimatums put you in a corner where the only way out seems to be giving in to her demands. This tactic is powerful because it preys on your fear of loss. You're made to feel like the entire relationship hinges on one choice, and if you don't comply, you'll lose her. But the reality is, this isn't about compromise. It's about control. By forcing you to act out of fear, she gets what she wants, while your needs, feelings, and boundaries are dismissed. The danger of the ultimatum game is that it erodes trust and mutual respect. A healthy relationship thrives on open dialogue and choices made freely, not threats disguised as love. Recognizing this game for what it is helps you step back and ask the real question: if love requires constant ultimatums, is it really love at all? Mind games are powerful not because they're obvious, but because they're subtle. They blur the line between affection and control, leaving you questioning yourself instead of the behavior being used against you. But now, you've seen the patterns clearly: the hot and cold, the guilt trips, the comparisons, and all the silent tactics that chip away at your peace of mind. Once you recognize these games for what they are, you stop playing and start taking back control. If this video opened your eyes, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll keep uncovering the hidden psychology behind relationships and human behavior. And here's my question for you. Which of these mind games have you experienced the most, and how did you handle it?